John today is going to talk about the landlord's guide for winter safety during the winter season. Super important. John, thanks for being here with us.
Of course. Thanks for having me. As always, I'll quickly go through a couple of things that are, helpful tips. And the first one definitely is slip and fall injuries. They're a real concern for all landlords. Generally, landlords responsible for clearing ice and snow, but they may be able to shift the duty to the tenant as part of a lease agreement. Is that correct? You
Yes.
check me if I'm wrong on that, but
No, you can.
and
Yes.
so always best to check your local laws and responsibilities as a landlord. But if you can offload the job to tenants, make sure the specifics are clear, like, how to properly use, salt or de-ice the cement or stone walkways, and also how to avoid property damage when doing that stuff too. Because, like that salt ice melt that you throw down can actually, if it's put on like a wood deck or something, can kind of deteriorate that deck too. So that can be costly as a landlord as well. And so, rule of thumb, if you really know your tenants well, you have a good relationship with them, chances are you might be able to come up with an agreement with your tenants, but otherwise you're looking to do it yourself, and you want to make sure that you do it safely, or contracting with somebody, outsourcing that to somebody to do snow removal for you. And then if you want to make sure that person has proper insurance too. The biggest thing that we always say to anybody who's looking to hire somebody for snow removal is that you make sure that they have insurance, and that insurance doesn't just cover them for liability if they damage your property during the course of their actual shoveling or something, but that they also have coverage for completed operations, meaning that, if somebody then slips and falls after and they didn't do a good enough job, that their insurance protects them for the completed operations, and that can add an extra layer of protection as a landlord, because ultimately, if somebody does get hurt on the property, it's the landlord's responsibility unless they have good contracts in place with the person who is responsible for that snow removal. Carbon monoxide detectors, always important to make sure that you have them working in your property. And even if they're not required by law, it's just good business sense to take those precautions. And especially in the winter, when you got the heat running all the time, sometimes things can happen. Those furnaces can throw off CO, and you don't want anybody getting injured in your property. So carbon monoxide detectors, smoke detectors, always part of a good inspection plan as a landlord to make sure that stuff is going to be, in good working order. Outdoor lighting is super important too. Outdoor lighting can be a concern. And as the winter days are shorter, walkways become slippery. Use timers, use those automatic lights that turn on with motion. Check the lighting systems, make sure that they're working in the winter. The risk of fires definitely increases in the winter, mainly due to improper electrical outlets. Christmas trees, those things are a huge fire hazard. Tenants are spending a lot more time at their home, maybe overloading some outlets for holiday lights and space heaters. Those things are dangerous. So when inspecting your rental properties, look out for, electrical hazards. I know with keeping the heat up in the property is definitely important. For one, like avoiding those frozen pipes, like we talked about, happened last year. So keeping the heat on, even if you have maybe, one unit that's not occupied because you're in the middle of getting a tenant out of there, getting a new tenant in, make sure that you still have the heat at a reasonable level for that. And then obviously, tenanted apartments, you have certain rules on the heat in those areas as well.